right. Okay. David, would you mind pressing record so we can record this meeting?
Yes. I thought I did. Yes, it says it's recording.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay, wonderful. Well, again, thank you all for being here this evening. If you go to the next slide, David. Oops, if you go up one slide, David, was there a slide?
I'm doing the slides.
Oh, Lauren,
I can
is
stop
this
sharing if you want.
Yeah, I don't think this is the slide deck for the introductions. That
Okay.
was in the chat box. Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. David, do you want to do it? Because I have the one from that you sent me to upload from earlier today, unless there's a new one.
If you go to the Teams channel, there is a new slide deck there for this meeting. I apologize, folks. I'm turning off my video just so that I'm able to have enough bandwidth for the meeting.
Hi, everybody. Just to give everybody an update, the internet in the area where Shalem is very disruptive right now, and so we're coordinating to be able to do the presentation as well as have Shalem still be able to move to it. So bear with us. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I'm back now. And if need be, David, we've got the if you want to if I drop off, if you and Lauren could facilitate, that would be helpful. But
Sure.
the interim, if you're able to get that slide deck up.
Lauren, could you were you able to open the slide deck?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, could we go to the next slide, please? And there we go. Just wanted to, and this is a familiar slide for most folks in this place, but go over the language interpretation. We've already opened up the language interpretation channel. So if you're on a tablet or iPad, go ahead and click those three dots. Go to language interpretation and then select your language. Everyone does need to select a language just so that we are able to do simultaneous translation. If you're on a computer, go ahead and click on that globe and click on English or Spanish. And then on a phone, it's pretty similar to the tablet. Look for those three dots and then click on language interpretation, either English or Spanish. David, would you mind providing the directions in Spanish, please? Oh, you're on mute, David.
Let's see.
We can hear you now.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out which one it is here.
David, just go ahead and look at the screen and just direct people with using what's on the screen.
Okay. Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Sí me pueden escuchar? Can people hear me?
Sí.
Okay. este es el momento de seleccionar su lenguaje. Favor de identificar el icono del globo si si tienen computadora, o los 3 puntos para seleccionar su lenguaje. Todos tenemos que seleccionar el lenguaje para que la intérprete pueda avanzar en su lenguaje y la reunión. Si está usando un teléfono inteligente, también por favor presione los 3 puntitos y ahí va a tener la opción de seleccionar su lenguaje. Gracias.
Great. Thank you so much, David. If we can go to the next slide, please. All right. Thank you all for being here this evening, and for your patience this evening as well, despite the technical difficulties I've been having. Today's a really important meeting. We're going to be able to receive an update from APCD staff, both William and Miney on our team, who have been working on this issue regarding the Tijuana River odor. And there was a notice of violation issued recently regarding that, and they're going to provide more background on what the notice of violation is, and where it is in the process, and what they've been hearing directly from the community the past 3 to 4 weeks regarding the Tijuana River odor. We're also going to provide a brief update about the indoor air filters pilot program from the County of San Diego. Unfortunately, no one from the County of San Diego was able to join us this evening. However, I do have a slide with a brief update that I can share with you all as well. And then lastly, if time permits, I know we've been kind of moving this item. I do want us to revisit us in engaging in discussion about the indirect source rule, hearing your perspectives regarding a presentation that I believe happened in back, I want to say in March or April, that Nick from our rules development team and Randy provided. It was quite a thorough presentation. I just wanted to provide another opportunity for us to kind of dig into the issue and hear your priorities as well, that we can share back with the rules development team. But before we get started on these agenda items, I just wanted to check and see if there were any general announcements or updates from anyone at either APCD or other organization, or I'm sorry, 8 public agencies that would like to share. Don't see anyone with the hand raised. And then David, since you're the host, Lourdes needs to be made
Buenas
a
tardes.
interpreter as well.
¿Sí me escuchan?
Sí, Wendy.
No, pero es que
Shalom, can you walk me through that?
Oh, ok,
assignment?
nada más quería compartir que el día de ayer se llevó a cabo una junta comunitaria para... Ok,
Sí, un momento, Wendy, un momento.
Ok,
Yo voy a
ok.
ayudar a David con una cosa. You did? Okay. Perfect. Okay, let's see. David, if you go down to the translation button towards the bottom of your screen.
Yeah.
If you click there, there should be something that you can like assign interpreters.
Manage language interpretation. I see it. Okay.
And then you can actually add Lourdes on there.
Here you go. think that worked.
All right, thanks all for your patience here. All right, so I think we've got
Gracias a
everybody.
todos por la paciencia. Creo que tenemos a todos. Oh, now I'm unassigned. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I just got
okay.
unassigned.
All right, David, can you actually make me host and I'll fix it, the issue?
Yeah. Hold on
Because
a
I don't have those controls anymore. You made me host?
Not yet. I'm trying to find that location here. Sorry.
You just look for my name and then you see the little dots when you scroll over my name on the sidebar. Actually, I'm going to reclaim host. I can do that.
Oh, there we go.
Okay,
There we go.
let me fix this again, folks. Thank you for your patience here. All right, Vicky and Lourdes, are you both have access to the channels? All right, we should be good. And I'm gonna make Lauren host for right now because she's also accessing the slide deck just to streamline the process a little bit. Okay. All right. I see Shelby's hand up. Shelby?
Thanks. I just wanted to give a brief update on behalf of the city of San Diego that we are updating our bicycle master plan. And I will drop a link in the chat. I want to encourage folks to just check out the link that I put in the chat in a moment because we're just seeking some input. We have not updated our bicycle master plan in over 10 years. So we would love for people to try to give community input on this update. There's an interactive map on the website right now where you can say, you know, there are specific needs in your community or particular areas of focus that you think we should prioritize or just take attention to, because this is just launching right now. So now's the moment to just engage with us, take a survey online. There's a lot more information on the website about the timeline for the update, where it stands right now. And really, this is the moment where we're just kind of assessing the current state of being and where we should start focusing on infrastructure upgrades for our bicycle infrastructure across the city. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Shelby. And we'll be sure that we send that link with the draft and then the survey to folks after the meeting as well. So thanks for sharing. We'll also have some time for public comment at the end as well. This is just a time for like public agency updates. So Olga, we'll definitely get to public comment at the end as well. All right. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. And I'm going to actually turn it over to Miney, who is a deputy director at the Air Pollution Control District, and William, who is a chief of compliance at the Air District, to share more about the work that they've been doing with community members and provide an update regarding the notice of violation. All right, Miney.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Shalane. As Shalane mentioned, currently I serve as a deputy director for the district. I oversee compliance and engineering, and I'm here with William Jacks, who is our chief of our compliance division. And yes, we would like to provide an update on all these strong odors that have been impacting various communities around the TJ River. Oh, we have the slides up, great. And so I just want us to start by thank you all for having me here tonight, and William, and also for all the work that you do in advocating for our communities. We really appreciate you. So if we can go to the next slide, please. William, are you sharing? Okay, great.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. So this investigation, it started around July 19th, when we start getting a lot of odor complaints from various communities. Since July 19th, we've received over 1,000 odor complaints. This is the highest number of complaints that we ever got regarding a specific source. So this slide here, we wanted to display some of the concerns that were reported to us, just to show how unacceptable this situation is. Nobody should be exposed to these odors. And we just wanted to convey our commitment that we're going to be doing everything we can within our authority, of course, to address this issue, or at the very least mitigate some of the impacts, because we understand this is a long-standing issue that communities are facing for a very long time. And again, we are 100% committed to make an impact here. So if we can go to the next slide. We would like to start by showing you an overview of the equipment that is operated by the International Boundary and Water Commission, or IBWC, and their contractor, Veolia. So IBWC, I'm not sure if you're all familiar with them, but they are part of the federal government, and they own and operate the South Bay International Wastewater Treatment Plant and associated infrastructure, which includes pump stations, as well as collectors, canyon collectors on US side. So the map here that you see, it shows the border. So we're going to be focusing on the equipment on US side. The map shows 2 of the 5 canyon collectors that are operated by IBWC. Those collectors, they're just structure. They are used to capture and divert dry weather transboundary flows that occur in the canyons on the border. So dry weather means that the preceding 72 hours have been without precipitation. So no rain for the preceding 72 hours. And transboundary flows included untreated sewage and other types of wastewater. But all that flow, that transboundary flow, should be treated so that we can avoid that going into the river and the ocean. So again, these collectors and pump stations have a very important role, because they, the equipment is used to divert that flow to the treatment plant, and again, to avoid some of the environmental issues that we're facing. But that's not what's happening right now. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. William, if we can go to the next slide, please. So we just want to share some of the findings that we documented since we started this investigation in July. So right after we started getting the odor complaints, we learned that the Hollister pump station became inoperative in June. So the records that we obtained from IBWC show that proper maintenance has not been conducted at all for that plant. Because Hollister had to shut down, the Goat Canyon pump station also had to shut down. And so William is trying to show you on the screen, because the Hollister pump station obtained the flow from the Goat Canyon pump station. So because Hollister is down, the Goat Canyon pump station also had to shut down. So the problem is that both pump stations are down right now, and we're still getting transboundary flows at the Smuggler Gulch and Goat Canyon collectors. So that's a problem, because all that flow is not being treated. Next slide, please. So this slide, we just wanted to share some of the information that we obtained from IBWC so that we are all aware of some of the challenges that they are facing. This is all data from that they provided from IBWC. On August 14th, we attended a hearing when IBWC provided an update to the Water Board on some of the challenges that they're facing, and we wanted to share that with y'all. So this slide in particular shows the amount of sediment that we're getting with these flows. So as you can see, you know, the volume has increased quite a bit this year in terms of, you know, sediment and trash that we're getting in the flow that we're receiving. And so that is a problem because all that sediment damages the equipment. It clogs the equipment and it you know, requires a lot of repairs. According to IBWC, a construction, they have to have a sediment system in order to make sure that the equipment is going to be functional. Next slide, please. So this slide, again, another piece of information that was provided by IBWC that we feel it's relevant. The red box there shows the capacity at which the treatment plant on US side is operating. So right now it's operating at 19 million gallons per day. And then the treatment plant in Mexico is operating at 18 million gallons per day. And a total of 47 million gallons per day is going to the river, to the TJ River. So that's a problem because this is untreated flow that should not be going to the river. That number there, instead of 47, should be 0. And again, this is all information that was provided by IBWC. This is just a copy of the presentation that they provided. The blue box right below, it has the capacity at which these plants were permitted. So the US plant was permitted to operate at, this is an average, so on average 25 million gallons per day. And the other plant in Mexico, the average is 50 million gallons per day. So if those plants were operating as they should, we would have less untreated flow going into the river. It would be 9 million gallons per day, which is not ideal because again, the flow to the river should be 0, but 9 would be better than 47 because that's a huge volume that, you know, should not be going into the river because that causes a lot of different environmental issues for our communities. Next slide, please. So what is our involvement here? We've on July 29, we issue a notice of violation to both IBWC as well as their contractor for creating a public nuisance. The notice of violation was issued specifically because we documented very strong odors that are still impacting, unfortunately, still impacting various communities. So that constitutes a public nuisance, which is a violation of our rule, Rule 51, as well as state law. So this is still an ongoing investigation, but we've determined that the public nuisance is occurring primarily because of a combination of outdated infrastructure and inadequate maintenance. So, you know, a lot of the equipment is not operating properly. There's not a you know, adequate maintenance plan for the treatment plan as well as the other equipment, the entire infrastructure. And so that falls under the responsibility of IBWC. And so that's why the notice of violation was issued. And now it's very, very critical that IBWC allocated the necessary attention and resources to address these concerns. And that's needed to prevent any further harm to the affected communities. Next slide, please. So what comes next? Again, the investigation is still ongoing. It's very important to us to keep you informed. And so we create a web page. You have a QR code there that you can scan. And we also included a link That web page is dedicated to this investigation. If you visit this web page, you can see a copy of the notice of violation that we issue. You can see a letter that IBWC sent us, also a letter that we sent them this week, as well as other relevant information. So I highly encourage you to take a look. And if there are additional questions, we are here for you. We will obviously continue our investigation until we verify compliance, regardless of whether or not we get complaints. We anticipate still getting complaints, but our procedure is that once we issue a notice of violation, we have to conduct ongoing inspections until we verify compliance. And the source, in this case, IBWC and their contractor, they're in violation for every day that they don't comply with the rules. So our inspections are going to be there ongoing, again, regardless of whether or not we get complaints. Once we can verify compliance, which hopefully that's going to happen soon, then we can initiate the settlement discussions, and that's going to be in accordance with state law in terms of establishing penalties and resolving this enforcement case. But we're not there yet. So I believe this concludes our update, and we are available for any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much, Maine. Just want to open up to folks. Alejandro, yes.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. This was really good, especially yesterday there was a talk at the library specifically about this, and I think this really serves as a really good follow-up. I was wondering if we have gotten any of the data from the fire station about specifically the odors, or not yet.
The fire station. So I think you're referring to the monitoring sensors that we have deployed for hydrogen sulfide. Yes, we have data. It's important to highlight that, the monitoring equipment is there to inform us, all of us, of, what is being detected. But, we could still document a public nuisance regardless of what the monitoring station is showing us, because a public nuisance here is really related to the impact on the public. And in this case, we documented very strong odors that are negatively impacting the community. So that is what constitutes a public nuisance. But the monitoring stations are very important to, again, provide additional information as to what type of concentrations we are detecting, because we have discussions with public health officer and, other jurisdictions to discuss, to try to quantify the impacts on the public. And my colleague, David Soderman, is also here. I don't know if he wanted to add anything with regards to those sensors.
Yeah, we definitely have seen an increase in the last 2 months compared to what we've seen in previous months. There's definitely an increase in that. It kind of ebbs and flows in terms of the maximum that we see during the day. Like the last few days, it's been lower than what it has been, say, like in the previous weeks. But again, it's a lot higher in the last 2 months than what we've seen in the last year.
And what you're measuring, David, is for hydrogen sulfide, right?
That is correct.
That's what's usually the
hydrogen sulfide has that kind of rotten egg smell that's common in kind of wastewater treatments and raw sewage and any type of organic material. As it breaks down, it kind of gives off the hydrogen sulfide. That's the main component of the kind of the sulfur species that are attributing to the smells.
Thank you, David. Are there any other questions, comments? Vicky, would you mind translating verbally what Margarita wrote in the chat box? Maybe it'll be helpful if I go to the Spanish station, read it in Spanish, and then have it translated. I'm not sure if Vicky's able to read the chat box here. 1 second. Oh, go ahead.
I think she's reading it. We just like, if you haven't selected a language, you can't hear it.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if you could translate that. Okay, thank you.
We agree, and
Thank you.
there are additional studies being conducted to further quantify the health impacts on all the communities that have been exposed to these odors. But we agree it's completely unacceptable. It's a violation of local and state regulations. And as I said before, we will do everything within our authority to try to address this issue.
William, I have a question. If let's say the odor is particularly strong one day, if folks are to call the air district or to use the app to report that, what would be the most important information for you and your team to know if folks end up calling in during a time when the odor is particularly bad?
I appreciate that, Shalem. Yes, that's definitely, I think, more information, the better. We do have received many complaints that give specifics about where and when they're smelling it. You know, sometimes many of the complaints are about what happened yesterday or days before. That isn't as, I mean, that's important information. We need to hear that, but that's not as useful. I think what we have staff on standby 24/7. So if we can hear when it's occurring, if complainants contact us when it's occurring, it will help direct our staff to not only see the trend of the times that are the highest, where the public is experiencing that odors, but also we can dispatch inspectors at those times to try to be there and be able to verify those odors. Because part of the process is verifying the odors to continue to document towards the enforcement case. So again, contact information, location, where they're smelling it, and contact us when it's occurring is the most useful information.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, William. Yeah, just want to, before we transition to the next topic, and this is certainly going to be a topic that we are continually monitoring. So please, there's the QR code, and then also Lauren put the web address in the chat box as well. Please check there frequently for updates regarding what the Air District is doing, what's happening in terms of the notice of violation to the wastewater treatment plant, and all. And as also we on our team with the Office of Environmental Justice hear updates from Miney and her team, we will also email that and pass it along to you all as well. One of the things we did invite the IBWC, which does operate the wastewater treatment plant, to come and do a presentation in terms of the status of infrastructure. So the status of fixing some things that are broken currently on the plant, but also the status of also expanding the plant's capacity, because as Miney showed, right, if everything was working in the plant today with the existing capacity, there's still more water that's coming in or flowing through the Tijuana River than the plant itself currently has the capacity. So at next month's meeting, they will be here to provide an update on that with you all. And hopefully you all be able to have an opportunity to ask questions too, to get more specifics on when those timelines are, what are the challenges, and better understand those things, and how those challenges can be overcome, so that you have more information on what they're doing, and what they have planned to do at the wastewater treatment plant to resolve these issues. So that is, we'll have someone come from IBWC next month to share more on that. And then Margarita.
Solo quería que me pasaran por favor el teléfono que mencionaron para poder reportar cuando haya estos olores, que es todos los días.
Yeah, we have on the chat and the phone number, and then we also have inspectors in the area to continue to monitor the situation. We know the odors are ongoing. We heard from IBWC that they plan to complete all the repairs to the pump station by next month. But, you know, we're watching that very, very closely.
I can add one piece too. I think definitely if your best option to contact us is phone or email, please do so. But based on the volume of complaints we're getting, preferably if you submit complaints via the app, we're able to categorize and respond to those quicker. So if we will also, I think Lauren put the information, the phone number and email, but we will also include in the chat the information to download the app if you don't already have it. Like I said, that's probably the best way to reach out to us, just for efficiency, because of the volume we're receiving. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to thank you all for you know, your time this evening, and we are more than happy to come back here. We wanted to be very transparent regarding this investigation, and once again, thank you very much for everything that you do for our communities.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Miney. Thank you, William. And again, you know, as William mentioned, the best time to report is as it's happening, and be as specific in terms of where you are, what the smell is like, and certainly can call or email, but it's much quicker if you use the app, because it gets in our system much quicker as well. So thank you all. And what we could do too is next time, maybe when we meet too, we can also do a little tutorial on how to use the app specifically as well. Olga, yes.
So I wanted to say that on Sunday we did the event. It was all grassroots groups, different groups. They came from Vista, from Chula Vista, from different places, and in Pearl Beach. And we're gonna continue doing that. We did speak to the mayor yesterday, because we feel like that's like in Pearl Beach, that's like someone who's really advocating, I feel personally, for this that's going on. And we're gonna continue. She said it's good for people to stand up because it's showing the other side, which is community, you know? So we're gonna continue that. September 7th, we're gonna do it again at the same place. On the 30th, we're gonna go to the IB Pier with another group of grassroots groups, and we're not gonna stop. So it's gonna grow, and we're gonna be emailing everyone on the list that we have every day. And I suggest that everybody should be doing that every day, because it's not just one time, it's every day. So every day we need to, you know, let the word out, and especially to the people up in the White House. And just wanted to invite you guys all. September 7th, gonna be down here again in San Isidro, and the 30th on the Ivy Pier. That was it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Olga, for sharing that. And Olga, if you have any information about that, feel free to drop it in the chat for folks here to know, you know, how they can get more involved in the advocacy efforts that you're helping lead as well. And then I do see a question in the chat box from Maria Cervantes, who says that she lives in La Palma, and they want to know, and they experience like the bad odors over there, and wants to know about the filters, air filters program, and if there's an ability to get those. So we're actually going to talk a little bit about that right now in terms of the next agenda item. Thank you. And Margarita as well says that she smells chemicals like chlorine. It's very, very strong as well in what she's smelling as well. And Margarita and sulfur, yeah. And Margarita and Maria, I would encourage you all to, when those strongs are very, very, very strong, to use the app or the phone number if easier to report that for sure. And then where you're smelling that, so providing like an address of where you're smelling that. Olga, did you have something else to add to that? I think maybe your hand may be up from the last time, huh? Okay, thank you. All right. So we're going to transition to the next agenda topic, which is regarding the indoor air filters pilot program that the County of San Diego is leading. If you could go to the next slide, Lauren. There's a lot of information on this slide. We're also going to be sending up a follow-up email in the next couple of days that'll have this information and a little bit more as well. The County of San Diego is doing a pilot program to give away some free air purifiers, and this came out of Supervisor Nora Vargas's office, and who's really advocated to provide this like immediate support. The county set aside $100,000, which allowed for the purchasing of 414 air purifiers with a couple of additional filters for people to be able to use for a longer duration. They launched this program about, I want to say about maybe 2-3 weeks ago. The day that the program launched, I had sent an email to the listserv letting folks know about the program, and had sent out the link with more information and how folks could apply. The county was prioritizing direct communication. So they were texting people that were like most vulnerable households that, in an area adjacent to kind of where many of the like kind of phone calls were coming from, and where the odors are kind of strongest and like closest to the river and the wastewater treatment plant. For this pilot project, registration for the program was required by August 14th. Oops, I think I'm seeing your email, Lauren. There we go. No worries. And so you would have had to apply by August 14th in order to be in the drawing. Because there are only 414 air purifiers that they were able to purchase. Those who registered by the 14th were in a drawing, like a raffle, and those who were selected were notified starting on August 15th. And then at that time, they would have received information on where to pick up the air purifiers. The county knows, right, that 414 is nowhere near the amount of filters or the amount of people that are impacted by this issue directly. So the county, as well as other agencies like the EPA, also the Air Pollution Control District as well, are looking for potential grant funding and other programs that may be available for additional air purifiers for community members as well. Lauren just put in the chat box the link that's on our screen here that will give you an update in terms of the status of this pilot program. Like I said, the county wants to continue in this effort. And so hopefully this, I don't anticipate this is the last time you'll hear about similar programs. This is the first time they're doing a program like this. And so we will certainly keep you all posted as they expand the program as well. One thing I do want to note is that the Air District itself is working on developing an air filters program. However, that program is not going to start until, unfortunately, much later. There's a number of steps that we have to do in the process before we're able to purchase those filters. The reason why the county was able to purchase these filters so quickly without having to go through kind of the required process for purchasing equipment using public funds is because they issued they declared a state of emergency, which allowed them to make the purchase and bypassing kind of the required typical procurement policies or policies around buying things using public funds. So they were able to kind of move much more quickly in the process to secure this amount of filters as well. And certainly agree with some of the comments here on the chat box in terms of, 414 certainly is not enough to address the problem, but it's a start in trying to provide some relief to some of the households here. Stanford, you asked like if we know how many households applied. I don't have that information. I can certainly follow up with the county to see how many people or how many households applied for this as well. The best source of information in terms of getting updates regarding this particular pilot program would be the link that Lauren supplied. But just love to open it up to questions as well. And and then how much would we apply per zip code? And I know David on our team is taking notes right now. So we will follow up with the county and ask those specific questions so that we can share with this group as well. But I want to open it up to see if folks have any other questions. Not that I may be able to answer them today, but we can certainly relay those questions back to the county or any of your comments as well back to the county since they were unable to be here today. Yeah, Alejandro.
If this was a pilot program, is there any already like known efforts that are gonna be for like expanding this program?
That I believe is currently in communication or in talks right now. I know that they're looking to secure additional funding to determine, could there be like a round 2 of this using that emergency declaration and all of this. But as I mentioned, APCD is looking to also have an air filters program. but it's going to be a slightly longer process before we're able to get those filters in the community itself. And our filters program would be region-wide. So not only including the communities of like San Isidro, type Mesa, and like area, but also other communities in the region that have high air pollution burden as well. But we'll definitely keep you all posted, like on like kind of the talks that are going on in terms of the expansion of the program. If that happens, when will that happen? But there is a deep interest, certainly from the county, to do more of this. And so they're trying to figure out kind of the funding mechanism, and also internally what department would be most would be best in kind of like shepherding this program. Right now, it's the Office of Sustainability and Environmental Justice at the county. That's the lead department that is facilitating this process. Yeah, thanks, Alejandro. Any other questions?
Well, I have a comment.
Do you have another question, Alejandro? Oh, comment? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Maritza here. I just
Maritza.
You mentioned that probably you later going to have more another program, but for all county or for all the areas. I believe this is for all the county, and it's open for all the areas, not only for the closest people that are more impacted, or the community that are more impacted, because I know and I think everybody, the pollution isn't everywhere, but thinking about the close to the Otaimesa, or close to the border, things like that, I think it was the criteria that is the take for this 414 filters, or sorry, I forgot the name, but because like Margarita mentioned, this is sufficient for the whole community. There are more than 400 houses or families that need that, because there's a lot of other issues that are starting to happen in health and everything. But I don't because I know they're already starting to people to getting the emails that they're getting the raffles already, and they get fueron aprobados, they get approved for that part, but it's not people here exactly. It's close to San Isidro, close here to the areas, but not so close. I don't know which the limits and what is the criteria for giving those for the first one pilot program.
Yeah, definitely. I know that they worked with the public health department in kind of identifying the areas, and then they I can get a list of the zip codes as well and email that out to this group so that you have more information on that. Unfortunately, I don't have that information at my fingertips, but it was those communities most adjacent to kind of the wastewater treatment plant and the river as well. And maybe actually, and David, are you putting, I see you put something in the chat box. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's actually
the picture that I put in there, that's the 3 zip codes that the residents in those zip codes were allowed to register for the program.
Perfect. Thank you. Because I know that was on the website itself. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
So those are the zip codes right there, Maritza. Yeah. For this particular pilot program.
Okay. Okay, thank you. No, I know it's not only here exactly in San Isidro, but that's what I think, which is that the criteria for this emergency program, pilot program, they have to give it away those filters, right? That's fine. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and we'll certainly follow up. We'll follow up with the county regarding the questions that folks asked. And then we'll also follow up with more information about the program as we learn from it. And we'll also send the link to where you can also follow the program page to be updated as well. Yeah, I see from Elsa that there were also people who don't know how to use the internet that weren't able to enter because, you know, and weren't able to use the internet as well. I think that's definitely something we want to communicate as well to the county and see if there was alternative ways to apply. I'm not sure, but that is definitely a valid point and concern. Yeah. Margarita.
Sí, sí, gracias. Sí, gracias. Buenas tardes. Sí, nada más comentar que sí le agradeceríamos si vieran que hubiera otro programa para que se incrementaran más filtros, estos purificadores de aire, porque ahorita con el calor cerramos las ventanas, las puertas y de todas maneras el olor se mete y el calor es horrible dentro de la casa. En la noche nos despierta el olor, aunque esté todo cerrado. Entonces lo comento esto para que sepan la magnitud del problema de los que vivimos en estas áreas que mencionaron. Yo estoy en la 91, en la 9273, que estamos muy cerca de este problema y pues es durante el día y se incrementa más en la noche. Lo más seguro es que todos los días pase de las 6, 7 en adelante y durante el día también puede ocurrir en diferente horario. Pero sí es un problema que ya tenemos varios años con él y que me preocupa porque esos olores raros, porque no nada más es de desechos, sino también son tóxicos, nos esté afectando a la salud y dormimos con ellos. Gracias.
Thank you for sharing that, Margarita. Yeah, and I see Olga.
I'm really worried about the stuff that's going on. I don't believe that we're all going to get filters, obviously not, but how important is it to start wearing masks? Because with the pollution from the you know, the cars, and with this, a lot of people are getting sick, and sometimes we might not smell it like at certain times, but it's still there. Our eyes are getting red, irritated, we feel dizzy, all kinds of things that are happening. Should we start wearing all masks? Because I even feel like even if we have a mask, it's still going through our eyes, like they're burning. And it's not really at certain peak times. It's like literally all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just feel like it's like we're in a really emergency of different things going on. But the smell's not really just a smell. It's, you feel it on your skin, like if it's absorbing through your skin, especially when your eyes. So I'm just wondering, I mean, shouldn't we have mandatory wear our mask?
Yeah, Olga, that's a really great question. I think what I'd like to do maybe for a future meeting, if maybe in October or November, is I want to coordinate with the county public health department to perhaps maybe come and share more regarding you know, some preventative or some measures that folks can take that are recommended to take, particularly when the odor problem is happening, particularly when there's high, you know, particulate matter days and so forth. We have our air quality index. It's primarily looking at particulate matter, not necessarily hydrogen sulfide, which is the compound that is prevalent when you're smelling the odors. But like with the air quality index, and Lauren, if you wouldn't mind putting that link in the chat, you're able to check that on a daily basis, and there's recommended suggestions for folks to take based upon kind of their health, and also if you're a child or an elderly person, so children's lungs are still developing. Those who are older may have some declining health or respiratory issues. And in the air quality index, it provides some suggestions, like, for example, on on a orange or red day when the air is noted as unhealthy. Again, this is for just kind of more particulate matter, which is those small particles that can cause respiratory issues, heart disease, all sorts of things. It provides thank you, Lauren. It provides some guidance. So for example, on those unhealthy air days, as it relates to particulate matter, it says like to reduce exercise outside or to be indoors, particularly as much as you can during those days. And so I'd encourage you to take a look at the air quality index. But I think, though, to your point, Olga, it merits a much deeper conversation as it specifically relates beyond just kind of particulate matter, but as we're thinking about compounds like hydrogen sulfide, right? What are some preventative measures we can take or mitigation measures we can take in the moment, right? That could best protect us. So Lauren just put in the chat box the air quality index. And then also the county's recommending that you reach out to your healthcare provider or call 211 if you have specific health questions as well. But I think it would be important also to maybe bring someone from public health here in this space and maybe provide more information. Some of the information I've seen from public health has been more primarily not necessarily about air quality and the wastewater or the Tijuana River wastewater issue, has been primarily about contact with the wastewater itself and the impacts to health with like actual physical contact with the water. I haven't seen yet anything from the public health department specifically regarding the air and the odor. But as David Soderman mentioned earlier, that's a field of study that is emerging, and there's not a lot of resources at this moment or studies at this moment specifically around the Tijuana River odor and air as it relates to. There's general research around the impacts of hydrogen sulfide in terms of the impacts to public health, which we can certainly share. But to answer your specific question, Olga, I do want to carve out specific time at one of our future meetings for that, and so we'll commit to reaching out to the public health department to work with them on bringing them here. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Olga. Great. Any other questions or comments?
There's a question from Stanford Morrison in the chat. It says, could you also confirm with the county that these air purifiers are meant to filter out odors? I was under the impression that these were only to filter air from pollutants, but not necessarily odor.
Yeah, we'll definitely check back with them regarding that. I know that the filters that they got, their primary function is for like particulates, filtering particulates from the air. Things like hydrogen sulfide, and maybe David Soderman can speak more to this. I know that the filters also have a carbon filter inside, and typically carbon filters can help support in filtering out some of the odor causing elements. But David, I don't know if you want to speak more to that.
Yeah, I don't remember the specific make and model that the county has, but I do believe, like you said, that they have a carbon filter in the filter, and that will help with odors. We've heard from some people that they're a little concerned that maybe it's not the right model, but at this time that's the model that the county went with, and if they were to bring back this program, I think it would probably look at maybe a different model, maybe the same model. There's obviously trade-offs with the make and model that you choose and the cost. but this particular make and model should do something. I don't know if it's going to 100% remove the odors, but it should definitely help. And I know that I think it's the same. I think Domingo told me that it's the same make and model that we used in the pair program. And we had a demo one in our office, and one of our colleagues took it home that lives in Imperial Beach, and they used it, and they said it helped. It didn't eliminate it completely, but it definitely helped significantly reduce the amount of odors in the room. So I think it's a decent model. Is there better ones out there? Probably. I haven't researched this, and so I can't really make a recommendations as to which one I would recommend at this time.
Yeah, and I have here in my notes the make and model that the county did go with, and I could put that in the chat box right now, and then I'll also follow up via email as well. Yep, there it is, Lauren. You got it from the notes below. Thank you. Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Shalem. I just wanted to, I agree with everything that David said. I just wanted to also add that, there was the situation that was happening with new leaf biofuels in the Portside area. For those who aren't aware, there was a kind of a noxious smell and odor that was happening in that area associated with that facility. And so there was, just for context, there was kind of a concerted effort to give some of the pair program air filters, air purifiers, I should say, to people living around that specific facility, and to kind of deal again with primarily the odor. The model, like David said, is not necessarily designed to specifically filter out odors, but just in the technology that they use would help in some capacity. They advertise on the website that it does help in dealing with cooking odors, pet odors, that sort of thing. And we heard from people living around that new leaf biofuel facility that it did help a little bit. Was it the best solution around? Probably not, but it did help in some ways. So I think that's probably what's going on here. There probably is better technology out there, but this was also looking at residential type air purifiers as well. There's you could probably go very expensive and very technical on an air purifier, but it also would be not easy to use. So that's kind of the trade-off sometimes with these programs, as well as the cost overall. So just wanted to throw that out there for context.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick. And there's a few factors too, right, that those operating these air purifiers, like, in terms of size of the room, right? So this is kind of a single room use for the air purifiers. Also, some other factors that are important is, this is something you'd want to use with your doors and windows shut, right? And if folks are primarily relying upon outdoor airflow to kind of cool their homes, the filter won't be as effective if those windows and doors are open. So that could make it much more challenging to have kind of the intended results, right? With these other kind of factors as well. But these are all great questions. But typically what you want to look for, in terms of my understanding, in terms of like filtering out odors, things that like have a carbon filter and have a thick or a very well made carbon filter. All right. Any other questions or comments before we transition to the next thing? Check in here.
Buenas tardes, Chalem. El día de ayer estuvimos en una junta aquí en la librería de San Isidro y la siguiente junta va a ser el siguiente 26 de agosto en la librería de Otay Mesa. Sería bueno que las personas que quisieran participar y asistir a esta junta, fueran, porque en esta junta se habló mucho acerca de todo lo que está pasando con con toda la contaminación de ese río, y cómo podemos nosotros como comunidad unirnos y ayudar para que nuestra voz sea escuchada y para que todo este problema llegue a la ayuda federal. Gracias. También te quería decir si puedo compartir el flyer en el chat
Sí, por favor.
para la junta.
Sí, por favor. Sí, gracias, Wendy. Unfortunately, we were unable to get kind of the simultaneous English translation on that, but essentially Wendy was sharing about the meeting taking place at the library, and she's going to be putting a flyer in the chat. At that meeting, they're talking about, this issue, and then also about the federal government's role in this issue as well. Just want to ask Vicky or Lourdes if you want to maybe summarize additional things that Wendy shared as well. Yes.
The other thing she mentioned is that the same meeting will be next August 26th at the Nestor Library, Otay Mesa Nestor Library. Sí, Wendy, ¿verdad? El 26.
Yeah. No, thank you, Maritza. Thank you so much, Maritza. I think our interpreters may be on the wrong channel, because I heard some talking over Maritza when she was on the English channel. So if you maybe want to look into that. All right. Yeah. So, and Wendy, if you can't put the flyer in, we actually, I think, received a flyer, right, Lauren, from I think Terry sent us a flyer. And so we can follow up with folks and email out that flyer for the next meeting, which is going to be on the 26th in the library as well. So we can email out that flyer. Definitely. All right.
Claro que sí, ahorita se los comparto.
Okay. Thanks, Wendy. Okay, thank you. I think Lauren's sharing kind of the screenshot here of the flyer itself.
Listo. Gracias.
Perfecto. Perfect. Thank you, Wendy. See that flyer there. And also we can email it out as well, so that folks have access to that as well. And we'll try to send someone on our team to either myself or Lauren or David to attend as well this meeting next week. Neat. And there's the QR code if you want to register. It looks as though they're asking for folks to register by today, if possible. Right. Thanks, Lauren. All right, if we can go to the next slide, please. All right. So we've been kind of on the past couple of meetings kind of been putting this particular topic off. But I wanted to provide an opportunity, and also Nick, who is the lead staff person on this issue, is also here tonight. So if we have any specific questions, we could certainly hopefully lean on Nick for that. But just wanted to provide, again, a brief overview of what was discussed back in April or March regarding the indirect source rule discussion that's happening throughout the region. One of the things in the Community Emission Reduction Program, the CERP, that you all co-developed. One of the key items that was listed as a community priority, an air quality issue of concern, is the volume, right, of heavy-duty diesel vehicles that are coming back and forth to and from the border and crossing here, particularly impacting the communities of Otay Mesa, where we know that there are many warehouses in that area. And so the flow of traffic to those warehouses, but also those heavy duty diesel trucks traveling kind of beyond those warehouses to other places such as the Inland Empire, to the ports of Long Beach and LA, and other parts in the region to distribute goods as well. And so this heavy duty diesel trucks in the area, particularly Otay Mesa area, was elevated as one of the key community concerns through the CERP process. And one of the CERP strategies that you all help identify was to look at potentially an indirect source rule or indirect source strategies to help to potentially lower, right, pollution coming from these heavy duty vehicles that are traveling to and from warehouses as well. So an indirect source rule, just as a brief update, right? Or what's an indirect source is a facility, a building, a structure, an installation, road or highway, which attracts or may attract mobile source pollution. In this case, we're focusing primarily on heavy duty trucks, but it's a facility or a building or a structure, right, that may attract a mobile source pollution. So we know, if we can go to the next slide, please. And these slides look familiar because I took these from the presentation a few months ago. If we look at specifically where are the warehouses in the international border communities, we know that roughly for those warehouses that are greater than 100,000 square feet, there are about 302 warehouses, primarily in the Otay Mesa area, right, where the heavy duty trucks are crossing to back and forth here at the border, what you see on the right-hand side of your screen. And then there's a few warehouses that are more than 100,000 square feet that you could see along the I-5 corridor, kind of clustered in San Isidro area as well. And I apologize, there's a total of 302 warehouses. 46 of those are over 100,000 square feet. 56 are greater than 50,000 square feet, but less than 100,000 square feet. And then 200 warehouses that are less than 50,000 square feet, but 302 in total. I apologize for that error. So, but just looking at this image here, we can see that there is certainly a concentration here in the Otay Mesa area. So a warehouse is considered through the definition from the EPA and the Clean Air Act is considered a indirect source. Next slide. So as Nick and Randy shared the last time that they were here, they have been facilitating a series of workshops and conversations that are open to anyone in the public to attend. I believe the next one, and maybe Nick, if you can provide that information, I believe the next one is September 6th, Nick, at 3 p.m.
It's actually September 3rd, so Tuesday, September 3rd, the day after Labor Day at 3 o'clock.
Awesome. So September 3rd at 3 p.m. And then we can also put in the chat box, Nick, if you want to put in the chat box the information for that meeting as well. Thank you. And so Thank you, Nick. And so at these meetings, they've been discussing, there's been a wide variety of different stakeholders at these meetings, from folks who are in the trucking industry to I think some of, I think I've seen Alejandro there before, some CBO representation, community-based organization representation, and all, but these are definitely open to the public. I do understand, the timing makes it difficult for some folks to attend these as well. All the meetings, though, are also recorded as well on our YouTube channel, and I believe you can access it through that link that Nick shared there. But from those discussions, the Air District has laid out some potential options for a regulatory approach, or just potential options and approaches. This slide just shows kind of potential options if a regulatory approach is pursued. What that can look like is the South Coast Air Quality Management District. So out in the Los Angeles area, Long Beach area, the South Coast region, they currently have a regulatory approach to addressing indirect sources of pollution. And in their approach, they have a menu of options that those indirect sources, like those warehouses, can choose from in order to ensure that they are reducing emissions from the trucks traveling there. So some of that includes, acquiring low NOx vehicles or zero emission vehicles. So vehicles that are emitting a lot more than kind of the standard heavy duty vehicles, or requiring trucks that visit those warehouses to have lower emissions, or even be zero emission trucks. The kind of equipment that they're using at the warehouses could also be zero emissions. Requiring charging or fueling infrastructure for zero emission or near zero emission types fuels, also including solar panel installation and use on their facilities to kind of offset some of the emissions from the heavy duty vehicles. Also having air filtration systems, or even paying a mitigation fee as well, that can go towards projects and programs that either reduce air pollution or can help mitigate it as well. So these are some of the different menus of options that are being looked at in South Coast. One thing to note is that currently South Coast Indirect Source Rule is currently under litigation. So there is some challenge to that rule as well. And so that's currently, I believe, in the courts, and there hasn't been a final ruling on that. But it is something that is currently being litigated. So this is just an example of a regulatory approach, would be kind of requiring potentially a warehouse or in this case, it'd be a warehouse, but an indirect source, in kind of maybe choosing a menu of options of how they would potentially reduce emissions in their in being an indirect source. And next slide, please. So currently, this is the Air District's kind of proposal that they will be sharing with the APCD board, and I believe first public policy committee to evaluate and take into consideration. There's three different elements to it, or potential elements to it. One is to amend the existing portside short haul zero emissions truck pilot program. I'm just going to pull that up here in my notes, if it lets me. So this is a non-regulatory approach, which incentivizes new zero-emission vehicle truck purchases. So it'd be kind of extending this kind of pilot project to other areas as well, but it's really taking an incentive approach in encouraging folks to transition in purchasing zero emission vehicles. Also looking at number 2, programs like Carl Moyer and AB 617 Community Air Protection Program funding, to also potentially provide funding opportunities for those who own heavy duty trucks to either purchase or install, or purchase zero emission heavy duty trucks, or install zero emission vehicle infrastructure such as charging stations as well. Again, another more incentive based approach there. And then the third here is, if a rule is eventually developed, using the mitigation funds, if, let's say, for example, an indirect source rule, like a warehouse operator were to say, okay, the menu option that we want to pick is paying into this mitigation fund. In this case, would have the mitigation fees fund help further purchase zero emission trucks to help reduce emissions in the area. So again, that would be voluntary as well. And that would be also subject to both the Community Steering Committee and also the California Air Resources Board approval. I want to pause there, and I just want to make sure, Nick, is there anything that would be important that I maybe missed in that description or inaccurate that should be corrected?
Just not really. I think you captured it well, Shalem. I think the only thing that I would maybe just highlight on this slide in particular is the 3 components of an incentive strategy overall that I think we would be pitching. And they're kind of, I don't think we're looking at it as, an either or, like I don't think we're looking at it as just like number 1 or number 2. I think we're looking at it as a kind of holistic strategy and kind of layered upon, it's kind of a layer cake, if you will, of incentive opportunities. The first one would be addressing, in particular, emissions in under-resourced communities where we have that authority to use funding in those areas. The second one, involving infrastructure, is actually something that is already existing. It's an existing aspect of our program, so we would just maybe do a better job of highlighting that. And then the third would be then expanding those incentive opportunities to areas that where we could potentially use funding at a greater geographic area, whereby using the mitigation fees, we potentially think we could use those outside of AB 617 communities, where in areas that are impacted by warehouse emissions as well. So I think that would be just my clarification on that, but I think you captured it well.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Nick. I like the layered cake analogy. Awesome. So let's go to the next slide here. And really this is where I'd love to hear, I want dessert as well. This is where I'd love to hear back from folks. We can go to the next slide. Here we go. And so keeping in mind what Nick just shared too, like, could this be like a layered cake approach where maybe all 3 or what have you? But I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of the proposed like incentive approach by APCD, or I should really say layered approach, right? Because it's not just picking 1, 2, or 3 in isolation, it could be this layered approach, as Nick mentioned. And like, is there a preference for a regulatory or non-regulatory, meaning, you know, required or just purely incentive type program, or like this layered approach, a combination of the both, and why? But love to hear from folks, and also Lauren, if we maybe just take it off the screen so I could see if folks raise their hand. I'd love to hear from folks, just kind of if there's any questions about that. And then also, what are folks' general thoughts regarding these strategies and potential for these strategies, knowing that the international border communities is this place, right, where there is a concentration of these indirect sources, also known as warehouses as well. Love to hear folks' thoughts. Are there any questions, comments, concerns?
Hi, this is Jenny Quintana.
Hey, Jenny.
I was just looking at the different ways to kind of help reduce the pollution. And I just was thinking how I really hope that Amazon or the businesses that really profit will be the ones who have to pay, not necessarily a small warehouse owner being hit with all those charges, you know, because I think their tendency is to push the costs onto other people. And so I can't, I'm not really have any experience on how to, you know, find people or do anything, but I hope that we can kind of keep the costs on the companies that are profiting, if that makes sense. And I'm not sure if that's come up in the meetings because I didn't attend the last couple warehouse working group meetings. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a great comment, Jenny. And I think we've heard that comment before in this discussion here. I see Nick came off mute. So yeah, Nick, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just a thought or two on this. Thank you, Jenny, for that comment. I mean, that is one thing that we're definitely cognizant of. I think there's a couple different angles that have come up in relation to that, because, you know, one thing that did come up a long time ago with our board was to also look at smaller warehouses to see what kind of truck activity was happening around the smaller warehouses and see, you know, what is the impact of those facilities. You know, if they are creating a large impact that is disproportionate, you know, or maybe proportional to an Amazon. That's kind of a crazy example, but I think you understand where I'm going there. You know, we'd like to know about it, and understanding that there could be some hurdles in how to you know, comply if a rulemaking is pursued. That's also, keep that in mind. It's probably going to be up to our board to decide the ultimate direction on where we go with this. I think the other aspect that to keep in mind is the ability to have options, which is a critical aspect of South Coast regulation. And if we do a regulation here, it would have to be a critical aspect here. And so while there's certainly more expensive options that could be taken to comply, it's also possible that if a smaller facility also has to comply, there may be options that are less impactful financially to them to also comply. So I think there's different ways that we are considering this from different angles. So, but that is all going to be kind of being thought about as we proceed here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick. That's really helpful. And one of the things that was coming to mind for me, as in terms of your response, Nick, and then Jenny's question or comment, is so there's a couple of layers, right? So one could be kind of the size of the warehouse, but it could be potentially perceivable, right, that a large multinational corporation has a series of small or smaller warehouses, right? But they're not like a small mom and pop kind of operation. And also there's kind of it's multifaceted kind of maybe approach in that. Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, we've learned throughout this process that the industry of warehousing and logistics, as probably some folks in this room already know, is an extremely complicated field. And there's, you know, tenants, subtenants, subleases, you name it, there's probably all kinds of situations that apply. And so that's one of the things that we would have to figure out probably as part of a rulemaking process to see, you know, which of those facilities are the ones that would really be responsible for complying and getting to the emission reductions that we're seeking. That is probably a hard nut to crack right now, but it would probably be something we have to attempt to look at, you know, in the style that AQMD did, to some extent. So that is something we'll definitely need to think about.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Just want to see if there's any other questions or comments on this, because I do want to, Lauren, if we can get slide 22 up. I do want to provide an update in terms of the timeline of where we're at in the process. Nicholas, yeah.
Yeah, Shalom, just kind of wanted to chime in as Lauren's bringing up that slide. I think one of the questions was if we preferred a regulatory approach versus an incentive approach. I think it's important to have both. You know, I think we've been trying the incentive approach for a little bit of time now, especially in the port side. We had like the zero emission truck pilot program, awesome program, but it's hard for facilities to or for businesses to kind of take that jump without having a regulatory pushing them in that direction. And so I think it's important for them to kind of work in tandem, right? Like have an incentive program that helps these businesses financially to make the transition, but it's important to also have a rule that requires them to do that. And so yeah, I'd love to see both if possible. Also, Nick mentioned the where menu of options. I understand that, you know, giving facilities options to comply with an indirect source rules like super important, and like how the rule is legally defensible. But I think it's also important that the menus get to reducing pollution. And so some of the menu options are like, I don't know, giving filters to impacted community members and installing solar. Like that's great, but it does nothing to reduce, you know, the cancer causing and asthma causing pollution, right? And so I think centering our options, providing options that get to that issue, I think is like the most important thing.
Thank you, Nick. I really appreciate your comments, and we're certainly making note of all of this, because one of the things we hope to do as well, and then I know that Nick on our team is also kind of taking note, but we're taking notes as well that we can share back with Nick and Randy as well. And all right, can you all see my screen okay?
Yeah,
so.
we can
Yes.
see it, Shalom.
Okay.
And I'd like to kind of respond to one of Nicholas's comments too, once you're done, or I can do it now, either one.
Go ahead, go right ahead.
I actually I just wanted to note for Nicholas Paola, maybe for the benefit of the group, that at our next working group meeting, we are going to have some updated results from how facilities are complying up in the South Coast region with their rule 2305. So it will give us another perspective again of how facilities are going about complying with this rule, and at least as part of a sneak peek maybe of that data, which we'll share at that meeting. We believe that a lot of facilities are actually probably not doing a lot of those additional options based on what AQMD is reporting. So that would be like the filter options, to some extent the mitigation fee. So I think there was some concern that this would, every single facility would be choosing an option like that. I don't think that's happening, at least right now in South Coast, but we'll provide more information about that at our September 3rd meeting to give you the full flavor of what's going on there. Sorry, just wanted to add that.
No, that's great. Thank you so much for adding that as well. All right, so I just pulled up the timeline here. Again, this is a slide that you've all seen before, but just wanted to show you all where we are in the process. So we're here. There's going to be an update coming to the Public Policy Committee and the Governing Board. And Nick, do we have the dates for that as when this update's going to come before them? It's pretty soon, right?
Yeah, my understanding is that we would likely be going to the Planning and Policy Committee in October. So that's not the next meeting, but the one after that. I believe they meet next week, so it won't be on that meeting, but likely in October. And then likely to the Governing Board. We are trying to get to our November board meeting. However, there's a possibility it could slip into the first meeting of 2025. As we're preparing a lot of information for that Governing Board meeting. There's a lot of information to compile, and we want to give everyone the opportunity to collect their thoughts, review the information that we put out there, and provide an opportunity for feedback before the Governing Board considers anything. So to incorporate that level of feedback and review, that's where I'm saying there might be a chance this Governing Board meeting could slip into the first meeting of 2025.
Awesome. And what we could plan on doing here, since this is an important SERP priority, is maybe come back sometime in the time frame between January and May, once the draft, if we get to that point, right, the draft strategy is released, come back during that time to this group and kind of share an update from there. As well. So more to come for sure on that. If you're unable to make the meeting and want to kind of keep posted on what's going on, those meetings are definitely recorded. I certainly have listened to them on double time, so I can get through them because they are a bit long. So yeah, and as other questions maybe come up, or if you're like, I'm wondering if they've considered this or that. If you're not able to attend that meeting, feel free to reach out to us. Let us know. You have you have my contact information, Lauren's contact information, and then also there's contact information on that page that Nick shared as well. Please let us know. The meetings aren't the only way to kind of share your feedback with us. You can give us a call, or you can email us as well as questions or feedback emerge. I'm going to go to the next slide here. So with that, I'm going to actually open it up for public comment, and just wanted to see if there is any members of the community or the public that like to share an update or a comment that hasn't previously been covered on the agenda. Make sure I see hands here if there's anyone. Right, I'm not seeing anyone here. So on the screen, you have our next meeting, which is going to be September 18th. It'll also be virtual. I am really hoping that during that time, my neighborhood doesn't have an internet outage. Thank you all for your patience today. But it'll be virtual September 18th. On our tentative agenda for next month, we hope to have a staff member from the IBWC to give an update regarding the wastewater treatment plant infrastructure. So what's the timeline for the fixes that they're making and for also expanding capacity. We're also going to have the city of San Diego, who was here with us in May, give an update regarding the tree planting program that the city is currently doing. And then we will also have folks from the incentives team at the Air Pollution Control District here to discuss AB 617 incentive funds and hear from you all what those priorities are that can help shape the next round of funding at the air districts in terms of incentives as well. I also forgot to mention this in the beginning, just want to show a slide. I just wanted to give a quick shout out and thanks to everyone who attended the performance of Somos Aire last month. Thank you for being there. Thank you for bringing your friends and family. I see Olga in this picture here. I hope that this was a meaningful and impactful event for you all. I also want to just give a lot of gratitude and thanks to Casa Familiar, who really helped with so much in terms of the logistics and making sure that we would be able to kind of support and sponsor this community event. We couldn't have done it without Casa Familiar. Of course, want to thank also the playwright Mabel Reynoso and the director Tori Rice, who were just so gracious and welcoming to the Air District in this partnership, and just their willingness to partner with us to be able to bring this showing to the community. Really appreciated. And then also just wanted to thank members of my team who did a lot of the legwork. David Flores, who attended a showing and shared it back with our team and got us all excited and started moving forward. And then also Lauren on our team, who really did I think all the legwork on this in terms of the RSVP list and all the coordination and back and forth with our interpreters. Vicky was there doing simultaneous interpretation that night. So it took a full team effort, and also to APCD executive leadership for supporting this event and believing that this is really valuing the arts and kind of the impact that they can make in these types of discussions. So all around, just wanted to share a lot of gratitude and thanks for all the individuals and organizations that helped make this night possible, including you all who were there as well. So thank you all. And we hope to be able to engage in more discussions and conversations like this, like the one we had back in July as well. So Nicholas, I think I saw your hand up and I apologize. Did you want to share something?
No, it was me.
Okay, thank you. And I see a couple of comments in the chat box. Just that the play was amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Margarita, really just giving some thanks about that we're always here to listen, and not just listen, but act, right? In terms of what those air quality, concerns are, and always willing to listen to rightfully and understandably so, right? Community frustrations around these ongoing issues. And so thank you all. We will be in touch. Before we head out though, I do want to introduce you all to someone who is a really important person on our team who just got started, is Karina on our team. You could see she just came off on video here. And you may have, if you went to the event, you may have met Karina because she was there supporting at the event, and just having extra hands and people to support was great. That was Karina's first day. And then I had to tell her not every community meeting or community event's going to be this exciting. But that was her first day. If you went to the event, you got to meet her. But Karina's here, and she's a really great member of our team, a student worker who's just doing great things and has been really supporting our outreach and education efforts in a really meaningful way. So welcome, Karina. And, you'll get familiar with this group, while you're here at APCD. So welcome. All right. So with that, we have 2 minutes to spare. I want to thank you all, and we'll be in touch. There's a number of things that we need to follow up on emails. I apologize. I see Melinda's hand up. I think about an announcement. Melinda.
Yes, really quickly. I just want to just share that tomorrow we have our last public workshop for our draft request for applications document. That's really the criteria for our next grant cycle. This grant will be eligible to community nonprofit organizations that are working on air quality issues and California Native American tribes. We will have $16 million available for this historic cycle. So we hope that you will take a moment and opportunity, if you have the time tomorrow from 4 to 5:30, to join us virtually. I was trying to put it in the chat, but I'm having a character limit. I have it in English and Spanish, but maybe perhaps after the workshop, we can send out the information to register. But hoping that you all can attend and join us. We have our public comment that will end on August 25th. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me here at CARB. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. And if you just want to email that to Lauren and I, right after this meeting, we're going to put together an email in the morning, like a package of all the things that we've talked about today, and then we'll get that sent out in the morning. Awesome. Thank you, Melinda. All right. Well, thank you all. Have a wonderful evening, and you'll see an email from us hopefully tomorrow morning or afternoon once we can kind of get all of that together in a package. So have a great evening, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.